The galaxy was a vast and complicated place, full of strange worlds and even stranger creatures. The Galactic Council, a powerful alliance of species from all corners of the galaxy, had long maintained peace. It was a council formed to prevent chaos, to ensure that no one race would dominate the others. For centuries, it had worked, until the emergence of the Xarvians. The Xarvians were a young species, their advanced technology and military ambitions quickly catching the attention of the galaxy. They were ruthless, believing their strength and intelligence made them the rightful rulers of the galaxy. They had conquered many planets and quickly gained power. However, despite their successes, they had never encountered a species like humans. Humans, though young in the grand scheme of galactic civilizations, were fiercely determined. The Xarvians thought of humanity as weak and primitive, an easy target for expansion. They had heard whispers of humans, warriors without fear, clever minds capable of unexpected innovations. But to the Xarvian leadership, all of this seemed exaggerated, like the stories of a small child who dreams of glory. The humans were seen as no threat, merely a nuisance that would bend to their will. The first encounter between the Xarvians and humans took place on a distant planet, a small, peaceful colony where humans had begun to explore the stars. The Xarvians sent a small fleet, expecting an easy victory. Their objective was simple: intimidate the humans, show them their place in the galaxy. But when they arrived, they were met with resistance. Not a full-scale battle, but enough to show that humans would not be so easily overrun. The human defenses, though small, were better prepared than the Xarvians anticipated. The humans had been secretly developing advanced technologies, and their soldiers fought with a fierceness that the Xarvians had not expected. The result was a standoff, with both sides retreating. The humans had shown their teeth, and the Xarvians, although they hadn't lost, were left with a sense of uncertainty. Word of this encounter spread quickly, catching the attention of the Galactic Council. The council was made up of hundreds of species, each with its own culture and interests, but all united by the common goal of maintaining peace in the galaxy. The council had been monitoring the Xarvians' rapid expansion and had warned them several times to avoid any unnecessary conflict. Now, with humans caught in the middle, the council knew something had to be done. A meeting was called, a rare and urgent gathering. The council's representatives were all present, from the towering Xanthians to the small wise Krillins. The topic of discussion was clear. The Xarvians' reckless actions had to be stopped before they triggered an all-out war. However, there was one question on everyone's mind. Could the Xarvians truly be convinced to stand down? Or had they underestimated humanity's resolve? The Galactic Council had made its decision. The Xarvians needed to be taught a lesson, not just for their reckless actions toward humanity, but to ensure peace across the galaxy. The Council was not a force of war, but when a species like the Xarvians pushed too far, they had to be stopped. An emergency meeting was called, and the Council's most respected diplomat, an alien named Arlen, was chosen to deliver a stern message. Arlen was known across the galaxy for his calm demeanor and wisdom. He was a member of the Elysians, a race known for their ability to communicate and solve conflicts without violence. His silver skin shimmered softly under the light of the council's chambers, and his voice had a soothing quality that made even the harshest leaders listen. But this mission was different. The Xarvians had crossed a line, and Arlen knew his words would not be taken lightly. The council prepared him for the task. "We cannot afford a galactic war," said the representative from the Krillins, her voice filled with concern. "Humanity must be protected, but we must also act decisively with the Xarvians. If they are allowed to continue, they will bring chaos to the galaxy." Arlen nodded solemnly. "I understand. I will not fail you." He had spent years negotiating between warring factions, but this was different. The Xarvians were not known for listening to diplomacy. Still, he believed that the right words, spoken with authority, could make a difference. With his instructions clear, Arlen traveled to Xarvian space aboard a sleek diplomatic vessel. As he entered their star system, he was greeted by a fleet of Xarvian warships, their massive, intimidating forms looming in the distance. The Xarvian leaders had received word of his arrival and were not pleased. They saw his visit as an unnecessary interference. Inside the command center of the Xarvian flagship, the highest-ranking general, Vaxar, sat in his seat, eyes narrowed as he stared at the approaching ship. He was a massive creature with a body covered in thick, dark armor, and his reputation for cruelty and conquest was well known. "Another fool coming to lecture us," Vaxar grunted. He had no respect for diplomacy. "We'll show them that no one tells the Xarvians what to do." However, Vaxar's superior, the Xarvian emperor, had a different view. The emperor, wise beyond his years, understood that they were at a crossroads. Despite his people's military superiority, the galaxy was vast, and provoking the council could have serious consequences. Reluctantly, he agreed to meet with Arlen. It was a chance to appear cooperative, but the emperor had no intentions of bowing to anyone. Arlen's ship docked at the Xarvian flagship. As he entered the meeting chamber, he was met with a cold reception. Vaxar glared at him, but the emperor remained calm. Arlen stood tall, his silver eyes meeting theirs with unshakable confidence. "Xarvians," Arlen began, his voice firm yet peaceful. "The Galactic Council has been watching your actions closely. You have crossed a line by attacking human colonies. This will not be tolerated." Vaxar snarled. "Humans are weak. They should not interfere in matters of the galaxy." Arlen raised a hand. "Your arrogance blinds you. The Council will not stand by while you threaten humanity. Consider this a warning. Never mess with humans. If you continue down this path, the consequences will be dire." The tension in the room grew thick. Arlen had spoken clearly, but the room was filled with uncertainty. Would the Xarvians heed the warning, or would they continue their aggressive ways? The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Back on Earth, the leaders of humanity watched the events unfold with growing concern. The warning from the Galactic Council had been delivered, but the tension between humans and the Xarvians was far from over. The humans had always prided themselves on their ability to adapt and survive, but this new threat was unlike anything they had ever faced. It was clear that the Xarvians were not going to back down easily, and many wondered if the galaxy's peacekeepers had overestimated their chances of stopping them. At the United Nations headquarters, the world leaders gathered in a high-tech war room. The room was buzzing with activity, with analysts and military strategists monitoring the situation. President Claire Morrow, a strong and decisive leader, sat at the head of the table. Her sharp eyes scanned the reports coming in from every corner of the planet. "We need to act, and we need to act fast," President Morrow said firmly. Her voice echoed in the room, cutting through the chatter. "The Xarvians won't listen to diplomacy. They think we're weak, but we can't afford to let them keep pushing us around. Humanity needs to show them what we're made of." One of the senior generals, General Liam Briggs, leaned forward, his face tense. "The Xarvians believe they're the top of the food chain. They underestimate us. But we've got something they don't: our creativity, our will to fight. We can use that." President Morrow nodded. "What do we have that can take them down?" Briggs glanced at his team of scientists and engineers. "We've been working on something. It's a new kind of weapon, more powerful than anything we've ever built. But it's still in the testing phase." "How long until it's ready?" Morrow asked, her voice edged with urgency. "Soon," Briggs replied, his expression serious. "We've got prototypes, but we need to make sure it's stable. One misfire, and it could be catastrophic." Morrow didn't hesitate. "We can't wait any longer. The Xarvians think they can crush us. It's time to prove them wrong." Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Xarvian leadership was already preparing for the next phase of their conquest. They had dismissed Arlen's warning as nothing more than an empty threat. The Xarvians were warriors at heart, and they believed that strength alone would carry them to victory. But they had underestimated humanity's ingenuity and determination. Vaxar, The general who had mocked the warning paced back and forth on the bridge of his flagship. He could not understand why the humans seemed so determined to resist. "We've crushed planets before," he muttered to himself. "What makes these humans so different?" His second-in-command, a sharp-eyed officer named Jara, spoke up. "Perhaps it's their spirits, sir. They don't back down easily. I've heard reports of their resilience. They'll fight to the last man." Vaxar sneered. "Let them fight. It will make their eventual defeat all the sweeter." But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that the humans were more than they appeared. He had seen it in their eyes. There was something unyielding about them, a fire that refused to be extinguished. And that thought lingered in his mind as he prepared for the next stage of his campaign. Back on Earth, President Morrow knew that the Xarvians were not backing down. She looked around the room at her advisors. The road ahead would be dangerous, but humanity had faced challenges before and emerged stronger. This time, they had no choice but to fight, not just for survival, but to show the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. The next step would change everything. The moment of silence before a storm can feel longer than the storm itself. It had been several days since the Galactic Council's warning, but the threat from the Xarvians still hung over humanity like a dark cloud. President Claire Morrow watched the sky from the White House, knowing that whatever came next would shape the future of the human race. She could feel it in her bones. The Xarvians were preparing to strike again. This time, there would be no diplomatic talks or warnings. The war had begun. Far from Earth, in the cold depths of Tarvian space, General Vaxar prepared his fleet. His orders were clear. It was time to make a statement. The Xarvians had been humiliated once by humanity's unexpected resistance. Vaxar would not allow that to happen again. He had his orders, and he intended to carry them out without hesitation. Their target was a small, peaceful human colony on the distant planet of Epsilon 5, located on the edge of the galaxy. It was an isolated world, ideal for showing the human race what the Xarvians were capable of. Vaxar's fleet, a dozen enormous warships, moved swiftly through the stars. The ships were massive, each bristling with weapons designed to obliterate anything in their path. It was a show of force, a message to humanity. He thought that if he could crush this small colony, humanity would be too frightened to resist any further. The humans on Epsilon 5 had no idea what was coming. The planet was peaceful, its citizens living simple lives, farming, researching, and enjoying the tranquility of their corner of space. The humans had heard rumors of the Xarvian aggression, but no one truly believed the enemy would reach them. They were wrong. The alarm bells rang through the colony at the first sign of danger. The planet's defenses were designed to protect from minor threats, but nothing could have prepared them for the power of the Xarvian fleet. In a matter of hours, the vast ships appeared in the sky, their weapons glowing ominously. Panic spread like wildfire across the colony. People scrambled to take shelter, but the Xarvians were too fast. Vaxar watched from his flagship, his eyes cold and emotionless. The human defenses fought back valiantly, but it was no use. The Xarvian warships unleashed their firepower, raining destruction down on the planet's surface. Cities were reduced to rubble, and the colony's communication systems were destroyed, cutting them off from any hope of calling for help. Human soldiers, trained for combat, but not prepared for this level of assault, fought fiercely, but they were outmatched. As Vaxar observed the carnage from his ship, he felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. This was what he had wanted, to break the human spirit, to show them that they could not stand against the might of the Xarvian Empire. But deep down, something nagged at him. Despite the overwhelming force, there was no sign of human surrender. The civilians on the ground, though terrified, fought back in their own way. Small resistance groups formed, launching guerrilla attacks on the invading forces, slowing down their progress. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make Vaxar pause. He had expected fear, chaos, and a quick collapse. What he got instead was defiance. On Earth, President Morrow received the news of the attack on Epsilon 5. Her expression darkened, her resolve hardening. "They thought we were weak," she muttered to herself. "Now they've made a mistake." She turned to her generals. "Prepare the Phoenix. We show them what humanity is capable of." The Xarvians had underestimated humanity once. They would not make that mistake again. The attack on Epsilon 5 sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The humans had been dealt a brutal blow, but they had not been broken. As word spread of the destruction, President Claire Morrow knew that this was no longer just a conflict between two species. It had become a defining moment for humanity. The threat from the Xarvians could not go unanswered. Not now. Not ever. Back on Earth, the aftermath of the attack was felt deeply. The world watched in horror as images of the burning cities and shattered landscapes of Epsilon 5 appeared on screens across the globe. Human lives had been lost, homes destroyed, and a once peaceful colony turned into a wasteland. But even in the face of such tragedy, there was an overwhelming sense of unity. People from all corners of the world, whether they had been affected by the attack or not, rallied behind the cause. The humans were angry, and they were ready to fight back. President Morrow stood in front of a large holographic display, addressing the leaders of the world's military and scientific community. "The Xarvians think they can crush us, that they can wipe us out like nothing more than a nuisance," she said, her voice steady but full of determination. "We will not let them. We will make them regret this. Humanity will not back down. We will show them the strength of our spirit, the power of our will." General Liam Briggs, standing at her side, spoke up. "We've been preparing for this moment. Our new weapon, the Phoenix ship, is ready for deployment. It's not just a weapon, it's a message. If we strike, we show the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated." The Phoenix was humanity's greatest achievement, a ship unlike any other in the galaxy. It was fast, powerful, and equipped with a devastating arsenal that could level entire fleets. Built with advanced technology, some of it based on human ingenuity and some discovered in the remnants of ancient alien technology, the Phoenix was humanity's trump card. The ship had been developed in secret, a last-ditch effort to protect humanity from threats like the Xarvians. And now it was ready to be unleashed. Morrow turned to Briggs. "Prepare the Phoenix for launch. I want it in the air within the hour." The command was clear. The response would come swiftly. The humans would fight back, not just with their weapons, but with everything they had. Meanwhile, on the Xarvian flagship, General Vaxar sat in his command chair, staring at the data streaming in from the attack on Epsilon 5. The humans had fought back harder than expected, but he still felt confident. The Xarvians had the upper hand. They had crushed the colony, and the humans were too scattered and disorganized to mount a serious resistance. But as Vaxar's officers reported in, his sense of victory began to fade. The humans were not retreating. They were regrouping. There were rumors of a new weapon, something the humans had developed in secret. Vaxar scoffed at the idea. How could humans, who had barely entered the galactic stage, have something that could rival the power of the Xarvian fleet? He didn't know it yet, but the Phoenix was already in motion. Humanity had taken a blow, but they were far from defeated. The battle for the galaxy was about to take a dramatic turn. The humans were no longer just defending. They were preparing to fight back with everything they had. And this time, the Xarvians wouldn't have the upper hand. The stars outside the Phoenix were nothing but distant points of light, but within the ship, the tension was palpable. The Phoenix had been humanity's secret weapon, a ship designed to be humanity's answer to any threat. And now it was their hope. President Morrow stood at the command center, her eyes fixed on the massive screen in front of her. The Phoenix was ready. The time for diplomacy had passed. The Xarvians had crossed a line. And now, humanity would make them pay. General Liam Briggs stood beside her, his face grim. "We're about to show them that humanity is not a species to be taken lightly," he said, his voice low but determined. He turned to the crew of the Phoenix, all of them veterans, all of them prepared for the fight of their lives. They knew this mission could change everything. The ship's engines hummed with power, and the crew worked in sync, their every movement precise and calm despite the weight of the mission. The Phoenix was a thing of wonder, sleek and almost alive in its design, built to outpace and outfight any enemy. It was equipped with the latest in human technology, weapons that could melt through any armor, shields that could withstand the deadliest of blasts, and speed that could outrun the most advanced ships in the galaxy. As the Phoenix tore through the stars toward Xarvian space, President Morrow looked to the skies, knowing that this was the moment humanity had been waiting for. She had heard the rumors, the whispers of the Xarvian generals underestimating human strength, but she had also seen the resolve in the eyes of the people. This was not just about defending humanity. This was about sending a message to the galaxy. Humans would fight, and they would never surrender. Back in the heart of Xarvian space, General Vaxar had received the news. The humans were not retreating. They were retaliating. The Phoenix was no myth. It was real, and it was coming. Vaxar gritted his teeth. He had underestimated the humans once, and now he could see that they had no intention of bowing down. He looked at the screens before him as his fleet prepared to engage the Phoenix. "Bring the fleet to full readiness," Vaxar ordered. "Let's see if this human ship can really live up to the rumors." The Xarvian fleet, while powerful, had one key disadvantage. They were overconfident. They believed in their dominance, their sheer numbers, and their firepower. But they had never encountered a force like humanity's Phoenix. As the two fleets met in the cold void of space, the Phoenix moved like a shadow, darting in and out of the battle with deadly precision. Its weapons fired with ruthless efficiency, tearing through Xarvian ships with ease. The humans had developed a new kind of warfare, one based not on strength in numbers, but on sheer adaptability and advanced technology. The Phoenix tore through the Xarvian lines, making every move count. Vaxar watched in disbelief as his fleet, once thought unbeatable, began to falter. The Phoenix was fast, unpredictable, and devastating. One by one, Xarvian ships were taken out of the fight, unable to keep up with the human ship's speed and firepower. The humans were not just fighting to survive, they were fighting to win. And the more Vaxar watched, the more he realized that he had made a grave mistake. The humans were not weak. They were not easily intimidated. They were fierce, resourceful, and relentless. This was a fight that they would win. The battle was just beginning, and the humans had already proven their strength. The Phoenix was a symbol that would be remembered across the galaxy. The Xarvians had made a terrible miscalculation, and now they were about to pay the price. The battle between humanity and the Xarvians was unfolding with intense speed. The Phoenix had already destroyed several Xarvian ships, sending shockwaves through the Xarvian fleet. The humans, with their remarkable technology and strategic ingenuity, were pushing back against the might of the Xarvian Empire. General Vaxar, who had once looked down on humanity, now found himself scrambling to maintain control over his forces. As the Phoenix continued to cut through the Xarvian lines, President Claire Morrow watched from Earth, her heart pounding with every explosion that lit up the dark void of space. The Phoenix was making an impact, but she knew this was only the beginning. She understood the importance of what they were doing, not just for the survival of humanity, but for sending a clear message to the entire galaxy. Humans were not to be underestimated. On the Xarvian flagship, General Vaxar was furious. His fleet, once thought to be unstoppable, was being torn apart by a single human ship. His pride was wounded, and his rage grew by the second. He had expected an easy victory, but the humans had turned the tables. It was something he couldn't accept. "We cannot allow this to continue," Vaxar shouted, slamming his fist onto the control panel in front of him. "Send all remaining ships after the Phoenix. We will destroy it, no matter what it takes." But as Vaxar's orders were relayed, his superior, the Xarvian Emperor, stepped into the command room. The Emperor was a being of great age and wisdom, and unlike Vaxar, He knew that a fight could not always be won by brute force alone. His many years of leadership had taught him that wisdom and strategy could outlast raw strength. "Enough, Vaxer." The Emperor's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of authority. "This battle is not about winning through force alone. It is about survival. If we continue this war with the humans, we risk everything. The phoenix is only a symbol, but we have much more to lose than just a battle." Vaxar, still seething with anger, hesitated. "But the humans are weak. They should be crushed under our might." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You are blinded by your arrogance. The humans are not weak, Vaxar. They have shown us something we did not expect. Resilience. And if we do not act carefully, the consequences will be dire. The Galactic Council will not tolerate this aggression any longer. If we push them too far, the Council will act, and we will not be able to defeat them." The Emperor turned to the comms officer. "Send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them we seek a diplomatic resolution to this conflict. This war must end before it destroys us all." The message was quickly relayed, and the Galactic Council began preparing for another emergency meeting. The Council had already witnessed the destruction the Xarvians had caused, but they had underestimated humanity. Now, it was clear that the Council had to intervene before things escalated any further. This wasn't just a fight for one planet. It was a fight for the future of the galaxy. Back on Earth, President Morrow had already anticipated that the Galactic Council would have to act, but she knew that the human race could no longer rely on others to protect them. They had proven they could defend themselves, but they needed to be prepared for what would come next. As the Galactic Council began to convene, the tension in the galaxy reached a boiling point. The question now was, would the Xarvians listen to the warning, or would they push the human race into a full-scale war that could change the galaxy forever? The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The stars above Epsilon 5 were silent, and the battle had left its scars on the once peaceful world. The dust of war still lingered in the air as the human forces, led by the Phoenix, pulled back from the Xarvian front lines. The battle had been won, but the cost was clear. Many human lives had been lost, and the Xarvian fleet had been crippled. President Claire Morrow stood by the window of the war room, looking out over a world in turmoil. But even in the shadow of loss, there was something else, a glimmer of hope. The Phoenix had been the game changer, the weapon that humanity had kept hidden, hoping it would never have to be used, had proved to be their salvation. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were capable of fighting back, that they were not just weak, defenseless creatures. They had proven to the Xarvians, and to everyone watching, that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with the strongest forces in the galaxy. Back in Xarvian space, General Vaxar was not pleased. His once proud fleet had been decimated, and his reputation tarnished. He had underestimated the humans, and now his commanders were questioning his judgment. Vaxar could feel the weight of their gazes, their whispers behind his back. The Xarvian Empire was in disarray, and it was his fault. But the worst news had come from the Emperor himself. The Xarvian Emperor had made the decision to send a message to the Galactic Council. After the brutal attack on Epsilon 5 and the unexpected human retaliation, the Emperor knew there could be no more games. The galaxy had watched, and humanity had shown its strength. The Emperor understood that the Xarvians could not fight humanity alone and hoped to win. The Council would intervene if the conflict continued. Back on Earth, the Galactic Council had issued a final warning to the Xarvians. The message was clear. Any further aggression toward humanity would result in severe consequences. The Council's fleets were ready, and their patience had worn thin. The Xarvians had been given every chance to avoid war, but now they had crossed the line. President Morrow watched as the Council's message was broadcast to the world. The threat from the Xarvians had not been fully neutralized, but the humans had made it clear that they were not to be messed with. The Phoenix had proven to the galaxy that humanity was capable of defending itself, and that was just the beginning. The next step was to rebuild, to heal the wounds left by war, and to ensure that humanity was prepared for whatever might come next. "There's still much to do," Morrow said quietly to General Briggs, who had been standing nearby. "But we've shown them we can fight. Now, we'll show them that we can rebuild." Briggs nodded. The Phoenix might have won the battle, but humanity's strength lies in more than just our weapons. It's in our resilience, our ability to come back from anything. The war was far from over, but humanity had taken its first steps towards something greater. They had earned respect, not just from the Xarvians, but from the entire galaxy. The Council's warning to the Xarvians had been clear, and it had been heard. The time for underestimating humanity had ended. The galaxy was no longer just a place of distant, unknown threats. It was a place where humanity had proven its strength, its creativity, and its will to survive. The battle might have been won, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning. And the universe would now have to reckon with the power of humans. The Galactic Council's warning had sent ripples across the galaxy. The Xarvians, once so confident in their power, were now backed into a corner. The Phoenix and humanity's resilience had shown them that this was not just another conflict. They had ignited something they couldn't easily put out. As the days passed, the once fierce Xarvian fleet began to withdraw, and their leaders were left to consider the future. What had once seemed like a guaranteed victory now looked like a precarious situation. On Earth, President Claire Morrow stood at the podium, addressing the people of humanity. The Phoenix had returned home, its crew exhausted but proud. The battle had been fierce, but humanity had triumphed. As Morrow spoke, her words carried the weight of everything they had achieved, and everything they stood to protect. Today, we stand united. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity is not a species to be underestimated. We may be young, but we are strong, resilient, and resourceful. We've proven that we will fight for our survival, and we will defend our future. Her voice rang out across the world, powerful and unwavering. The crowd cheered, their spirits lifted by the triumph, but Morrow knew that the real work was just beginning. The Xarvians had been stopped for now, but they were not defeated. The Galactic Council had made it clear that humanity's actions would not go unchallenged. The humans had earned a place at the table, but the path forward would be difficult. The galaxy was vast, and many species had their own agendas. General Liam Briggs stood by Morrow's side as the speech ended. "What now?" he asked, his tone serious but hopeful. "We rebuild, General," Morrow replied, her gaze firm. "We strengthen our alliances and prepare for whatever comes next. The Phoenix is just the beginning. We'll continue to innovate, to grow, and to prove to the galaxy that humanity's place is not just as a survivor, but as a leader." Back in Xarvian space, the Emperor sat in his chambers, looking out over his fleet's remaining ships. The Xarvian Empire was not the unstoppable force it once was. Their fleet had been decimated, and their reputation was in ruins. But the Emperor knew that they could not afford to show weakness now. The Council's message had been clear, but the damage was done. The question was, what next? "Vaxar," the Emperor said, his voice measured and calm, "it is time for us to reconsider our approach." General Vaxar, standing at attention before the Emperor, nodded grimly. "Yes, Your Majesty. The humans have shown that they are not like any species we've encountered before. We must reassess our strategies. We cannot afford another defeat." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "The galaxy will remember this. The humans will remember this. But we must look forward. There are more important matters ahead. Let us not forget that there are other powers in this galaxy who may seek to take advantage of our moment of weakness." Vaxar's thoughts drifted to the many races watching the conflict unfold. The Council was not the only force in the galaxy, and the humans had made an impact. But the Xarvians were not done. There would be time to recover, to rebuild, and to face whatever new threats arose. For now, the battle was over, but the war for control of the galaxy was far from finished. Humanity had proven it could stand against the strongest forces. But as Morrow and the humans looked to the future, they knew the real challenge was not in fighting the battles of today. It was in securing their place among the stars tomorrow. The galaxy would never forget the lesson they had learned. Never mess with